This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes! Welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now, it is New Year's Eve. This is my next to last show. So, last year in 2021, I had my friend Rachel Klahr come back on here to do a really awesome 2-hour podcast. And she's coming back on this year, but she's going to interview me. And I've been contemplating this idea for a while of someone interviewing me on my podcast. At first I was thinking of doing it for the 5th anniversary. Then I thought, nah, I should just have everyone who loves me come on here and talk with me. So Rachel's going to interview me. I've seen the questions. They are awesome. You will not be disappointed. And we're going to go out with a bang. This is the next to last show on New Year's. My 1700th interview is with Ione Sky. That's going to be friggin' awesome. You're all going to love that interview. I have had an amazing year in 2022. You know, Gina Schock, Sharon Gless, Sandra Curry, Ione Sky coming up next. I've had some great interviews this year, and I'm so excited for 2023. I just hope I can get one of my huge bucket list guests, Valerie Landsberg, on here. It's bad enough we're missing the 40th anniversary of Fame, but if I can get her for the 45th anniversary of Thank God It's Friday, I'd be a happy fanboy. I really would be. So fingers and toes crossed on that. And also, rest in peace, how you pronounce his name? Ruggero Deodato, who made Cannibal Holocaust. It's weird. I've never talked to anybody from his camp. I've talked to people from Italian horror films, mostly from Dario Argento and Mario and Lamberto Bava, but never from his camp though. But he was a pioneer, nevertheless. So rest in peace, Ruggero Deodato. So yeah, here is Rachel Klahr interviewing me.
Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Rachel, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. How are you doing today?
I am spectacular, and I am all yours.
Excellent. Well, I was very honored that you reached out to me and asked me to be on Splat from the Past again. I think this is the second or third year in a row?
4th time.
Oh, well, let's see. Can't even keep track anymore. Well, we're definitely doing things a little bit different. We switched it up. I am going to be interviewing you for a change and getting to know you a little bit better.
Exactly.
Do you have any New Year's plans tonight?
New Year's plans, probably just gonna eat Chinese food like I do every year or something nice like that, and just watch the countdown and listen to my usual Saturday round of podcasts that I listen to every week.
That sounds like a really good tradition. I never make it to midnight to watch the ball drop anymore.
Wow.
I've gotten to that age.
I'm sure I'll get there eventually, but I'm not ready yet.
Hey, good for you. Live it up as long as you can, right?
Yep.
What's your go-to Chinese meal?
I just love the simple stuff. Fried rice, chicken chow mein, broccoli beef, mushroom chicken, stuff like that.
All good stuff. I'm a dumpling fan. Are you a dumpling fan?
Yeah, they're good. Not my favorite, but they're good.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump right into some of these questions. I know I sent you a list a little bit, like a week or so ago, so you can kind of prep a little bit. So
Yep.
I know you've been doing your podcast now for, a while. What number are we on now? I know you're close to 1,700, right?
Yep, 5.5 years.
Oh my God, it's amazing. And good for you for keeping it up this long. Some people would have just kind of been like, all right, but it's obviously a passion for you, so.
I thought that was going to be me at first, but I kept going.
Yeah, I mean, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? You just find a way to do what you love and keep it positive, and that's amazing. So even though you've been doing this for 5.5 years, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be the biggest comedy star in the world. I grew up loving Jerry Lewis, all the Saturday Night Live and SCTV guys, stand-up comedians that were part of that 80s comedy boom, like Sam Kinison, Bobcat
Yep.
Goldthwait, Rodney Dangerfield, etc. I used to perform in front of the family after dinner, put on imaginary Saturday Night Live sketches, and imitate my favorite celebrities and comedians. And I wanted to study improv at the Groundlings in LA after high school. It's a legendary comedy troupe that Pee Wee Herman and Elvira and Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan and all of them came out of there. And I wanted to go, but life got in the way, and had to take care of my grandmother for 9 months after high school until she passed. And I wanted to do that for so long, but I like the way things have worked out so far, and it's never too late to do things. But I don't think I would want to do it at this point because I'm older now. I think when you're young and you're just you're that green, it's the best time to do things like that because you have more energy.
Yeah, do you feel like, even like maybe you'd be more of a sponge, 10 years ago versus now, and being able to really like kind of hone that skill versus maybe, for lack of a better way to put it, you maybe have picked up some bad habits along the way that would be hard to get rid of?
Maybe, definitely bad habits, but I will always be a sponge. Like a few weeks ago, I was interviewing somebody, and I mentioned two songs that I liked from the person, and those weren't even the titles of the songs I was thinking of. It was because I absorbed so much information from Wikipedia that I got my song names mixed up. That's how much of a sponge I am.
You're just retaining it all.
It was awkward, but
Yeah, it can happen.
I eventually explained near the end, and then everything was all good.
That's good. So I know you have a concentration in horror. So what got you into such a love of, the horror genre with people?
I grew up loving horror. The first horror movie I ever saw, according to my parents, was The Shining when I was only a year old. I have no memory of it until I was 7 when I rewatched it and loved it because apparently when I was a year old it scared the shit out of me, and my dad used to fuck with me all the time by going, "Here's Johnny," and just terrifying me. It's still one of my favorites. And then I got into the Romero movies and Friday the 13th, Freddy Krueger. I watched all those movies when my parents were asleep when I was growing up. And then after high school, I started writing horror screenplays because, I started writing scripts when I was 12 and didn't really write one until I was maybe 19 or 20 or something like that. And after my car crash, I started going to horror cons, and I had a period where I was shamed. I was ashamed of being a movie buff because I thought it hindered me socially. And during my years of working in the bar business, I watched very little movies or TV, and I only talked about the movies if they came up. I was just like, I just, wanted to hone my social skills during that long period, But this car accident really liberated me into owning it, that I'm a movie buff and that I'm proud of it. And I just was like, just try and stop me. I'm gonna, pursue things in this genre somehow, you know. And I wrote a great script 5 years ago that I hope to make someday. It's that good. It's the best thing I've ever written, and I'm just hoping I meet somebody who's interested in making it.
That's awesome. So I know you said earlier The Shining was the first horror movie that you ever saw according to your parents, but what is the first horror movie you ever saw that you actually remember watching?
Well, I mean, the first one, I guess, if you could qualify, Ghostbusters or Gremlins. I remember watching those when I was 3 years old. They played on HBO throughout the summer of 1986. They were always on. We had them on tape. I was always watching those. That's probably where my earliest memory of horror began. And then, you know. I watch, the creature feature movies, and then when I was 8, I remember I saw Friday the 13th for the first time, and that did it for me. That was the beginning of me loving slasher films. And again, watching them when my parents were asleep was what I had to do because they didn't want me renting those movies at that time. But then by the time I was 12 or something, then they let me do it because, they caught on. They knew I was watching those movies late at night, and they didn't care by that point. They were just being their version of protective parents,
Sure.
basically.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's probably Ghostbusters and Gremlins. Those are probably like one of the first two that I really saw that I can remember.
I feel like Ghostbusters is a good intro into, a maybe not necessarily directly into the horror genre, but it definitely gives you that kind of uh, otherworldly, paranormal kind of feel, even though it's a comedy, and it does kind of pique your interest into opening that door. So maybe it's like a gateway movie.
It definitely is, and I agree with you. And yeah, I think a lot of people, since that movie has come out, a lot of people have started horror by watching that one or Gremlins. And those movies, they both were released the same day on June 8th, 1984, which was 2 days after my first birthday, and it really cemented their place. They really cemented their place in pop culture, and I think a lot of people started horror with them because they were just two very two very um, well made comedies with really
Yeah.
scary horror in them, and it was at a time when nobody had seen anything like them, and they're just so they're just so unique.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I'm not huge into the history of the horror films,
Mhm.
like you are, films in general. I love films, but I definitely feel that, they're campy in their own right and both
Right.
good movies, and they were definitely very prominent in their time. So speaking of that, what is your favorite horror movie?
Um, God, there's so many that I like. Well, I have to divide them up in categories. Like my Friday the 13th was my first slasher film. It's my favorite. I just love it. I mean, sure, it was a cash cow of Halloween, but it was a well made one, and it's just so well cast and so clever. I think, and I'm so lucky. I've gotten to know Adrian King and several people from the movie by interviewing them and meeting them at conventions and so forth. Creepshow is my favorite horror anthology movie. Dracula 1931 and Vamp, they both tie as my favorite vampire movies. The Howling's my favorite werewolf movie. Dawn of the Dead's my favorite zombie movie, etc. So those kind of movies. I'm such a slasher movie buff, though. I mean, 1981 and 1982, those were the two best years of slasher films, and I've gotten to chronicle so many of them for their 40th anniversaries in the last year, and they made so many. I mean, there were really obscure ones and really popular ones, and there was ones that were shot in Canada, ones that were shot in New York or very rural areas in California, and they have this spark to them that you can't really describe. You have to watch them, you know. I just love the slasher films the most, and there's so many people I have found over the last few years that are just crybabies and don't like what they call torture porn. And it's like, I don't really think they're torture porn. They're just slasher movies.
All right. What is your favorite interview that you've done so far out of all the interviews that you've done?
Okay, I've got a long-winded answer here for that.
Okay.
Okay, when I started the podcast in 2017, I knew I wanted to do one, two, sometimes three interviews a day, like Howard Stern, and be prolific like a radio guy. I knew I wanted to do that, but it took a while before I could accomplish that. So I would have guests come back on whenever I was bored and needed guests. And when you live up here in Redding, California, there's no shortage of boring. So I knew I wanted to do it. I wanted to be prolific and do that. So, you know, people who came back on multiple times are obviously my favorite guests. Whether it's Diane Franklin, Kathleen Kinmont, Catherine Mary Stewart, Lynn Griffin, Leanne Kreischer, you, those people are all my favorite guests for obvious reasons. But if you want to know who are some of my favorite one-time iconic guests, there's Tommy Chong, Melanie Chardoff, Ronnie Blakely, Teresa Ganzel, Gina Shock and the Go-Go's, who I had on this summer, and that was fucking fabulous. And Bobby Rydell, um, Blake Edwards' daughter Jennifer, she was awesome. She could tell that I truly loved her father's work, and she was just feeding off of my energy. Pamela Des Barres, the greatest rock groupie of all time. I've been blessed to talk to some great people. I prefer talking to journeymen the most, though, rather than iconic stars, because I'll tell you, some iconic stars have really turned me off and exuded a lot of hierarchy and entitlement, and but the ones who are journeymen, they're very down to earth and they have the best stories, I feel.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely think it's tough. I think there's probably a lot of people that listen to the podcast that can empathize with that, for the simple fact that they meet people that they idolize that have been on television, movies, whatever, and they're so disappointed by who they meet, because it's not the person that they see on television or in the movies or whatever it may be. You get somebody, unfortunately, I think the industry just breeds that kind of person, and I don't think those people would be that people if they were normal people, but because they're in such an industry where, there's fame and fortune, I do think people turn out to be different, because of the, society factors in that bubble of Hollywood or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's a business for people who are truly narcissistic, and I don't think I've ever gotten to that point where where I have to be ruthless and just not be a good person to become hugely successful.
Right.
I've definitely learned hustling skills to get that many people to come on here, but that's about it. I was never a good salesman in retail. I was always awful. Oh my God, I couldn't stand people working in retail. It was awful.
I guess it depends on what kind of retail you're working, but yeah, it can be brutal out there for sure. So 2022 is closing. We're going into 2023. You have had a lot of great guests on over the last years that you've been doing this. Mm-hmm. Who really is that long shot guest that you would love to interview on your podcast?
The last few years, I hope to get Ileana Douglas. I truly love her, and I love the fact that she's an old movie buff. She does those festivals for Turner Movie Classics, and she hosts on there sometimes. She comes from an old Hollywood family, and I think her and I would just have a great conversation. And I mentioned this in the intro. I've been going back and forth with Valerie Landsberg from Fame for a while now, and I'm hoping to get her next year. That's the 45th anniversary of that disco movie she was in, Thank God It's Friday. And I would love to get her. She was like one of my early crushes as a kid. I'm so lazy. If I wasn't so lazy, I would have been the president of the Valerie Landsberg fan club. That's how much it means to me. I just adore her. And I saw this movie she directed a few years ago, and it reminded me of my family. It was like almost like a documentary. It was a movie about a family who's having financial troubles, and there's a lot of dysfunction in it. I'd like to get those two. There's other people that I've wanted to get that I've kind of let go because it just feels like it's going to be a big hassle, and I've heard stories about them and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure there's others that I'm blanking on, but those two are what I really like to get.
All right, well, maybe putting it out there into the universe, we'll see that come to fruition this year for you.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. So, we know you're a horror fan, among other things, but what was the best Halloween costume you've ever come up with?
Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you asked me that. In 2010, I was a professional ball player. I was a baseball player with his hands down his pants.
Oh my God.
I found this costume. At a seasonal Halloween store. It wasn't the Spirit store, but it was one that never came back to town, and you would never see this costume at the Spirit store. And yeah, I'll tell you, it was really heavy to wear this thing because of those fake arms. They had cotton in them, and
Yeah.
but it was a lot of fun. It got a lot of huge laughs. And back then, I was a lot skinnier than I am now, and I could fit in this thing. And when my mom and I became homeless and we had to get rid of a lot of shit, I got rid of that costume and I regret it every day. I should have that now, but unfortunately, I don't. And that was the best costume. It got huge laughs everywhere I went, And it was one of the few Halloweens where I actually didn't get laid because I'm sure it was because of those fake arms down my pants.
Oh my God. The question is, you may not have a costume anymore, but do you have a picture?
No, for some reason I didn't have any pictures taken that year. I wish I did though, and that was a year that I was super depressed too because I had lost my bar job that meant a lot to me, and I I'm sure somebody I knew took a picture and I never saw it or something. I hope so. I hope there's one out there that I just don't remember. But I missed that costume.
Well, we're putting it out there. Anybody listening, if you were friends with Tommy at that Halloween party or happened to be there, and you have a picture of him, post it on Facebook. So, are you more of a beach guy or a mountain guy?
I never went to the mountains, and I especially wouldn't now because I have two bad legs from my car crash. So beach all the way, especially if it's a nude beach.
Oh, well, I don't think they have a ton of those in California, but there are places that they exist. We'll have to get you to one.
Oh, we had one in San Francisco for a long time. I don't know if it's there anymore. It's been a long time since I went because after I started gaining weight again and drinking, I just stopped going to them.
Yeah.
But we did
I
have
went to
one.
a nude beach once, and it was not for me.
Really, what was it about it, if you don't mind my asking?
So I was actually down. I had gone to Puerto Rico to visit one of my college buddies, who I've, now we've been friends for 20 years. But he's a pilot, and he got a job down in Puerto Rico, and we ended up getting a plane ride over to St. Bart's in the French West Indies for the day. And so we were, on the island exploring, and we went to this beach, and it was a nude beach, and it was a beautiful beach. Like, I've got pictures of it on one of my Facebook albums. Like, you walked up kind of like this steep little dune between like a bunch of mangroves, and then it opened up into this secluded private beach, and it was a nude beach, and there wasn't a ton of people there, but it was, there are people of all shapes and sizes, and I, applaud them wholeheartedly for enjoying what God gave them and being out in the open, but it is just not for me. I kept my bathing suit on. My friend went, he took his suit off and got in the water and everything, and I was like, I'm going to stay clothed. It's just, and I think, to, like, over in other countries, the view of nudity is so different than here in America.
Yeah.
So, I grew up thinking, like, you're supposed to cover yourself up. So, that's what I do. I wear clothes, and I wear a bathing suit when I go to the beach, and, I certainly can appreciate the human body, but it is just, there's a lot going on at a nude beach, and it is not for me.
Yeah. I'm a California boy, thick and through, and so I love that kind of lifestyle. But I totally get it. I totally get it.
This is just not for everybody. And, you know, I can appreciate things and not have to participate. And, you know, it's free country, right?
Exactly. Well, I don't know if it's that free, but yes.
You know what I mean. You get the gist of it.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's your favorite season? Are you a summer guy, winter guy, spring guy, or fall guy?
Summer guy all the way. You know, I mean, it's funny. You know, there's this issue of global warming that's been going on and stuff. You know, for a long time, I was for global warming, and then once fire started to happen and people started dying because of the cold, then now I'm against it. Now I see where people, you know, we're going crazy about it. I'm a summer guy all the way,
All
and
right. So, sun's out, guns out.
yeah, I can't stand the winter time at all. You know, I can't stand rain and getting wet. I can't stand thunder. There's more thunder over here in Reading than there is in the Bay Area, and
Oh wow.
we only get thunder in the Bay Area maybe once a year, and it's scary. I'll tell you. Um, yeah, so I'm a summer guy all the way. Spring is nice. It can be nice. You know, fall. Once the leaves start falling and I start walking in piles of leaves, I'm like, oh shit, winter's coming. You know,
Well, hopefully you don't get a whole lot of snow.
we have snow once a year on this side, but over in Bernie, you know, which is an hour or two away, they get a lot of snow over there.
All right. So, are you a dog person or a cat person, or no animals?
I love both. They're two very different animals. Dogs are needy and affectionate 24/7, and cats make you work hard for their respect. But when they do, they can be just as loving as dogs in their own way. I love them both. I cherish my dog and my cat. We've had our dog for over a year, and we've had our cat for 3 years now. And we just love them both, and they get along great, and they're just so funny together when they're playing. Um, they are just two like mutually exclusive siblings in a way, and I spent a lot of time with them while my mom was in the hospital the last few months, and now it's gotten to the point where the dog just like goes into my room whenever my door's open, and she never did that before my mom was gone. She was always just staying in the living room, but now she comes in and we have fun. I throw the ball and she goes and catches it and so forth. You know, and I love animals in general. So, you know, but cats and dogs, I love them both.
All right. Fair enough. What's your favorite color?
Blue,
Okay.
especially if it's
What's your
blue.
favorite TV show?
Hard to say. I love the early Simpsons, you know, before they got all fan fiction-y. Seinfeld, Married with Children, Laverne and Shirley, just to name a few. You know, TV is not TV anymore. Do you agree?
Oh, for sure. It's hard to find a good show to watch these days. I mean, there are some good ones out there that I really do love right now, but I mean, yeah, it's changed a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on all those shows. I miss the syndication shows, and like, you know, we have what's it called, Me TV and the Retro Channel and stuff, and they got a lot of the classic shows I grew up watching on there. Netflix and Hulu, they have selective classic shows on there. Um, but I miss the way TV used to be, and you know, I started seeing signs that it was going to go downhill once the reality shows became popular, and
Oh, yeah.
next thing you know, there was one bad reality show after another, and so many imitators. There was a couple I saw that I actually liked. Um, there was a show on TLC called "What Not to Wear," where this guy and this girl are like teaching these women to dress
I
better.
remember that one.
Yeah, Stacy and Clinton. I used to watch that show, and I'm trying to remember, there was something else I can't remember, but by the time I got into those shows, I was working in the bar business, and then I just didn't have time to watch TV and stuff, and yeah, it's just not the same anymore. And the streaming shows, So, a lot of them are good. I like Cobra Kai.
That was entertaining for sure. And, a bit of nostalgia there, considering we came from, the Karate Kid era.
Exactly. I like stuff like that, but just I don't know. Just it's just not the same to me. Um,
I would agree.
but yeah, it's definitely changed.
Okay, so what is the best life advice somebody's ever given you?
I saw Eddie Murphy once say on Inside the Actor Studio, the best advice I can give you is don't take advice, and I live by that every day.
All right, that's a good one. I like it.
Yes, people are always giving me unsolicited advice to advance their agenda, and it's so awful, And you do something successful and people like it, and there's always people saying, change this, change that. You just don't want to listen to them. There's people who have said to me, why don't you put a picture up, in your podcast interviews and stuff, because everyone's doing that. I like the idea of a black screen so people can just listen while they're driving or doing chores or going to bed at night or something,
Yeah.
and not take away the radio aspect of it.
All right, I think that's good. Do you have any hidden talents?
Oh yes, I could open a tightly sealed water bottle with my belly button.
All right, that is definitely a hidden talent.
I used to do it on stage in stand up, and it got reactions that were good or what the fuck. I didn't do it often though. If I ever go back to stand up, it's been 4 years, going on 5 now. But if I ever go back to stand up, I think I would close every set with that. Because I do think it's awesome. Even though I am a little embarrassed that I got scars around my belly button. It's not as cute as it used to be, because of all the surgeries I had from my accident. But I would definitely do that again.
All right, I mean, I don't know that I would qualify belly buttons as cute, but
It's
in the eye of the beholder.
it's a fetish of mine.
All right. So next portion of this interview is going to be a would you rather, and I did not send you any of these questions, so
Yep.
you can just kind of hopefully off the cuff give just an honest response.
Hmm.
So, would you rather be deaf or blind?
Neither.
You got to pick one. This is the game.
There's the exhibitionist part about the exhibitionist part of me wants to be blind because of having some sexual situations of like glory hole and stuff. So maybe blind.
All right, so I think of it the total opposite way. I'd rather be deaf in the case like that somebody's chasing me. I can see where I'm going to get away.
Okay.
All right, next question. Would you rather have everyone you know be able to read your thoughts, or for everyone you know to have access to your internet history?
Oh my God. That's another neither question. I don't know.
I know.
I guess internet history is fine. If you go through my internet history, you'll see, the first, 10 years of me just posting funny shit, and then the podcast, and stuff like that. You'll see me, be depressed and put that out there and shit, and that's fine because, we're all human. So I guess the internet history.
Okay. Would you rather have a personal maid or a personal chef?
Ooh, personal maid, especially if she's sexually promiscuous.
Well, that's not part of the question, but I mean, it could happen. You never know.
Yeah.
But you could have a naked chef too. You never know. That could be good.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather walk in on your parents or have them walk in on you?
I kind of did walk in on my parents once when I was 4. Kinda. They were in bed, but nothing was happening and stuff. I had to go warn them that I saw my brother smoking. It was when he first started smoking. I guess rather parents. because it
Okay.
wasn't that bad of an experience, I mean, I don't want to see anything else, but I'd rather that than just, have my privacy invaded.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Would you rather have a third nipple or an extra toe?
Third nipple.
Okay. Would you rather be in a zombie apocalypse or a robot apocalypse?
Zombie apocalypse.
Good answer. I would also. Would you rather drink sour milk or brush your teeth with soap?
Brush my teeth with soap.
I'm with you on that one. All right, and last one for this round. Would you rather be able to read minds or predict the future?
Oh, that's a hard one. I guess read minds. I never know if someone likes me or not. I just have such an insecure complex. I'd like to read minds, actually.
Okay. I think I would probably do that too. As much as predicting the future would be kind of cool, I don't necessarily want to know what it has in store either,
Yeah.
Like, some things should just be left up to, chance or be a mystery or whatever.
Right.
All right, so that is our Would You Rather round. We're going to close things out with Marry, F, Kill.
You could say fuck.
All right, Marry, fuck, kill. So,
Okay.
I've prepared a list or a handful of people that you have to choose from.
Okay.
The first one, and I totally randomly chose these people, left field kind of deal.
Mhm.
It wasn't like me sitting there thinking, okay, who should I put in these? It literally was random. So we did first round Shakira, Janet Jackson, or Ariana Grande.
Janet Jackson, because she's got a very nice belly button.
Okay. So that's who. What are you doing? Are you marrying, fucking, or killing Janet Jackson?
I'd fuck her.
Okay. What are you doing with Shakira?
Oh, it's one of those type of questions.
Yep.
I guess I would do a shotgun marriage or something.
Okay. So that means you're killing Ariana Grande.
Yes.
All right. Out of the next three, marry, fuck, kill: Olivia Wilde, Emma Watson, or Emily Blunt.
Let's see. I'm going to be honest. I'm not too familiar with any of them, so I'm going to. I'm
You want to skip that one?
yeah, I don't have a clear answer for that one.
Okay. This one, we went up a little bit in age. So Nancy Pelosi, who's Speaker of the House.
Yep.
Nancy Grace, who is the news crazy lady, or Judge Judy.
Yep. I used to watch her show every week.
So what are you doing with those three ladies?
Okay, so Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Grace, and who again?
Judge Judy.
And Judge Judy. Kill Judge Judy. Marry Nancy Pelosi and fuck Nancy Grace.
All right, there we go.
Because Nancy Grace needs it.
She needs something, that's for sure.
She is a force of nature, and underneath all that, I can tell she's a very good person, and she's not hung up on being a celebrity. She's hung up on doing what's right.
There you go. I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
All right, so next group of ladies is Gal Gadot, who played Wonder Woman,
Mm-hmm.
Scarlett Johansson, or Halle Berry. It's a little superhero theme there.
I'd fuck Halle Berry. I would bury Scarlett Johansson, and then the other one kill, I guess.
All right, now we're going to go back in time to when red swimsuits were in fashion. Pamela Anderson, Carmen Electra, or Jenny McCarthy.
Kill Jenny McCarthy, fuck Carmen Electra, and marry, who was the other one again?
Pam Anderson.
Pamela Anderson. Oh God, that would be a great sex tape situation with me and her.
All right. Last two, I guess, are a little more horror genre related.
Oh.
So we have in this round Jamie Lee Curtis,
Mm-hmm.
Gorney Weaver, or Heather Langenkamp.
Let's see. And I know Heather too, by the way. I haven't interviewed her yet, but I do know her from the con scene. Oh my God. So, okay, Sigourney Weaver, Heather Langenkamp, and Jamie Lee Curtis. Okay, I would fuck Jamie Lee Curtis. I would marry Sigourney Weaver. And I'm sorry, Heather, but you haven't come on, so I'd kill you.
Fair enough. All right, last one I have
Hmm.
is Sarah Michelle Gellar, Neve Campbell, and Amber Heard.
Oh my God. Okay, there's two people on there I would kill.
I mean,
Okay,
you could change it up. That's cool.
kill Sarah Michelle Gellar. I would kill Amber Heard, and I would fucking marry who? Again,
Neve
sorry.
Campbell.
Yeah, Neve Campbell. Yes, I haven't met her yet, but I would like to. I heard she's very nice. Yeah,
All right. Well, that is all I have for the Marry, Fuck, Kill round. I hope it was fun for you.
it was. And you know what's funny? When I saw that you were gonna do that round, I actually made a serious list of who I would marry, fuck, kill, and
Oh, all
stuff.
right. Do you want to go over it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd marry my high school friend Anna Marie, who's been on here 4 times. She's a good friend of mine. She had a kid out of wedlock about a year and a half ago, and you know I've told her over the years, you know, I'd like to date her, and I think that you know she loves me deep down the same way as I do, but she doesn't want it to ruin the friendship. You know,
Sure.
it's that deep. But I would definitely marry her. She'd be the perfect girl for me. I feel. Um, I'd fuck nearly every '80s babe I've interviewed.
Okay.
And oh, I won't name names. There's a couple horror actresses I was lucky enough to experience some sexual activity with at conventions.
There you go.
Kill is a rather strong word. I'll be honest with you, but I'd rather call out many horror booking managers and agents because they are horrible, abusive people.
Fair enough. Yeah, I've heard some stories that are not good, and
Yeah,
again, I think it just comes with the territory and the industry, and some people are just jackasses, and you gotta move on.
absolutely. One question you actually didn't ask me is the best place I visited.
Oh yeah, I did skip that one. What is the best place you visited?
So far, LA. I love going there. The sun and just the history of it. You know, I'd like to go to New York and Europe, especially Italy. That's like in the future. That's where I'd like to go. I wanted to do that before I was 40, but I'm going to be 40 next year. So, like, hopefully, next few years, I'll be able to get to go to those places. I have made so many friends in New York from the podcast that it's going to be an exciting little adventure when I do go.
What is the closest airport to you? Like major airport?
It's funny. We have a new airport that just opened. I forget the name of it. I haven't obviously gone anywhere, but it just opened like right in the middle of COVID. And before that, I had to go. I would probably have to go all the way to San Francisco to catch a
Okay.
plane. But now there's one over here, you know. And I don't know how much longer we're going to be in Reading. We're trying to move to Modesto or somewhere like that. Where it's cheaper and hopefully a little more exciting.
Well, there's usually pretty decent deals on flights, from the West Coast to New York. I mean, I know typically, like, out of the major airports like LA or San Francisco,
Yeah,
you can get round-trip tickets for a decent price. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. So I feel like you can definitely make the New York thing happen sooner than you think.
yeah. Well, the thing is just financial. Overall, that's what's keeping me from doing it. You know, just that. But we hope, you know, we pray for a miracle that something will happen and I'll get to go. Um, but Europe is really pricey, so gonna have to wait for that one. But definitely New York, it's all financial. Um, so if I may flip this around, how's the student loan business these days?
It's still there.
Yeah.
my job is going, and it is a challenge, since the president has put out all those statements about loan forgiveness. And
Yeah.
my wish would be that people would not just read the headlines, they'd actually read the articles and educate themselves.
But if that were to happen, right? I mean, would you go into another line of work?
I mean, even if that were to happen, it's not gonna affect too much on what I do personally.
Mm-hmm.
For the simple fact that it's only for federal loans, and I do also like regular just cash balances that are left with schools.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see it affecting us too hard, which is good. But you never know what holds in the future, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I don't even know what I would do at this point.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I just wanted to see what your take on that would be. What are your New Year's resolutions?
That is a good question. I pretty much stopped ever making New Year's resolutions, because they were always like the typical ones, like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym more, or I'm going to eat better, or whatever. And I just never, I'll keep them for a little while, and then they just kind of get thrown by the wayside. So I don't have any New Year's resolutions. I just try to remember to tell myself you can't control everything in life, and if you can't control it, don't let it affect you. Be nice to people. The normal stuff, be a good human being. More people need to do that these days.
Yeah, well, the weight thing is what I have to do because my diabetes. I've lost 40 pounds so far. Hopefully, I get to go full 100 pounds by the time of my 40th birthday next year in June. I want to get more cachet in the convention scene. I'm halfway there. I mean, I got Gina Shock booked at a couple conventions because I gave her manager slash boyfriend a list of cons, and he mentioned my name and got booked. I do know a couple of good people in the cons, and I want to host panels, at cons, and so many people are surprised that I haven't yet. And so many of the horror people who haven't done cons have come to me and asked me if I could put in a good word for them, and I said I don't even have cachet in the cons. I'm very flattered that you think I do, but I don't. But the Comic Cons, I know a couple people, and I was able to get her booked in there, and I feel so good that I did that.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully that opens some doors for you.
I hope so. I really do. I'd like my mother to be there. I'd like to get my dad to come out and be there and stuff. It would be fabulous. Last week I did a very emotional talk with Lori Cardeal about grievance and loss, and I thought for sure I was going to lose my mom that week because it was bad. And then she came home on Christmas Eve, and it's just been the Christmas miracle I was hoping for, But I was just, I was just, I was just lost. And we had a great conversation though, and she mentioned how much she misses your dad.
Yeah. I think a lot of people do. We're not, me and my brothers and my mom certainly aren't the only people that miss him. And it's really nice and sweet that he had that big of an effect on the world. I mean, there's not a whole lot of people that can really put their stamp on their time, outside of just immediate family and friends. And my dad definitely did that, and it's always nice to hear the stories that people tell, and just that they're thinking about him and all those good things. So I'm very grateful for that, and it's certainly not lost on me. That he was a big part of a lot of people's lives, and not just me, my mom, my brothers, his family.
Yeah.
He really made an impact on people, and I'm grateful for that, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, and Nick Tallow from Dawn of the Dead just passed away. I never got to
I
talk. I,
know.
I never got to talk to him. There's a couple people that there's a lot of people I haven't talked to, but there's a couple that I wanted to that I never got to that passed. Joe Pilato was another one. I actually was going to reach out to him, and then I found out that day that he had just passed, and that was just
Mhm.
a real bummer for me because he worked with Quentin Tarantino. You know, he was in Pulp Fiction. He's Dean Martin
Yep.
at the Jack Rabbit Slims. You know, I wanted to have a conversation with them. You know, and unfortunately I didn't get to. There's a couple people I'm going to reach out to for Dawn of the Dead's 45th anniversary next year that I'd like to. There's one I really want, but she doesn't check her messages, and I've tried to get her on Facebook and LinkedIn, and she doesn't know a whole lot of the other people that I've talked to, and the ones I do know are kind of kooky. You know, I'm not going to say their names, but like, you know, I couldn't even get a recommendation from them. They're so kooky.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
it's Renee Banks. I want to get her, and that kid zombie on the ice skating rink, Christian Dryden. I want to reach out to him next year for the 45th. Um, yeah, but God, I've talked to like maybe just under 15 people from Dawn of the Dead,
Well,
and
hopefully we can get you some more.
yeah, and just about 10 or so from Day of the Dead. Um, yeah, so I'm excited for that. You know, next year I'm going to be 40, so a lot of my favorite movies from 1983 I'm going to be talking about. And the other milestone years, 73, 78, 68. You know, like my first guest for 23 is going to be from 2001 A Space Odyssey.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it's turning 55
Is it really?
next
Wow.
year. Yeah, turning 55. It's crazy. And I got a guest from American Graffiti coming on next week.
Oh, that's a great movie. We used to watch that all the time in art class.
Art class.
My ceramics professor in high school, anytime like he was like, yeah, we're just gonna kind of have a free day. You can do whatever you want. He put that on, and that really is a great movie.
Yeah, let's see. I've talked to one other person from it, and this will be my second person. Hopefully, Cindy Williams will be my third. Been trying to get her on since day one, and hopefully, it's going to happen next year. But I got that, and I got a bunch of other people I'm going to reach out to. So it's going to be a great year, I think. I may take the summer off. I said that last year, but I'm thinking of seriously doing it this year, especially if we move and I actually find something to do in the new area we move to. So we shall see.
Hey, 2023, lots of possibilities.
Lots of possibilities. So what's going to be your New Year's plans? Because you're in Virginia, right?
I am. Nothing really crazy. We're just going to go to a friend's house, and I think we're going to cook dinner over there and hang out and, you know, just chill. I'm not big on the, you know, go out for New Year's Eve. There's,
amateurs.
Usually lots of people on the streets and lots of really drunk people out there, too. So I'm more of a low-key kind of person. You know, I think if I was, you know, 25, I'd probably want to go out downtown or something, but when you get to be 40, you're just like, no, take a nice relaxing evening at home, it's fine.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that last year about just how it's amateur night on New Year's Eve, you know.
Oh my God, is it ever?
I mean, I know so many people who have common sense, and like I've said to them over the years, you know, let's go out New Year's Eve. Oh hell no, it's fucking amateur night. Like you have more common sense than I do. You know, I mean, I have stayed home many New Year's Eves, right? But there's also been ones where I've gone out, and I'll be honest with you, in the Bay Area, if you're in San Francisco, everyone's going to be out. It's going to be freaking crowded. But if you're in San Mateo, everywhere you go is going to be dead because everyone's up in the city or home.
Right. And, you know, I think, like, if you're going to do New Year's, or if I was going to really do, like, New Year's and do it proper, so to speak, or, like, make it a big event, like, I would want to go to New York, or, you know, go to a big city in a different country, or, you know, somewhere where they really, like, do up New Year's. But, like, even for New York, like, I wouldn't want to go to New York anytime soon. It's crazy there. But, you know, ever since 9/11, they kind of changed how they do things in Times Square for the ball drop. Like, they put you in these, like, little corral pens, and you can't leave, and, like, you can't really bring anything in, and, like, it sounds miserable going to Times Square now for New Year's Eve. Like, you know, 20 years ago, different story maybe. But, you know, if I was going to do something like that, I'd get a hotel room where I could see the ball drop from and just sit in there and watch it.
Yeah, like maybe tonight, you know, you'll stay up and
right.
stay up.
I'm telling you, I will not make it to midnight. I will be asleep probably by, like, at the very latest, probably 11.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm trying to remember. I think it was last year. My dad fell asleep, and he always calls me at midnight after the countdown. But I think he fell asleep last year, and I'm gonna check with him tonight and see if he'll be awake. But last year he was definitely out like a light.
I mean, I feel like you can only watch so many balls drop, you know.
I love that. So, somebody posted something the other day that had like these ornaments, and it said, like, you know, let your Christmas balls show, or something like that. It was somebody legendary in show business that I know who posted it, and I just thought that was so awesome that she posted that.
That's funny.
Let your Christmas balls show. Yeah, I love that. That was so awesome. Yeah, and yeah, so just gonna be chilling, you know, eating dinner and maybe a movie night or something.
Yeah, nothing crazy at all.
Some alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably have a libation or two, but not gonna, definitely not gonna overdo it. Hangovers are not your friend as you get older.
Oh no! Oh God, I had some pretty nasty hangovers, especially after I drank Maker's Mark and Coke. Those were the worst.
Yeah, liquor hangover can be deadly.
I loved it when it was going on, but afterwards, no. Oh my God, it feels like it's sucking the life out of you. It's just draining your body, you know. And no matter how much water you drink, you're not gonna. It's gonna be probably a full day before you're hydrated and you feel better, you know.
Oh, for sure. And now it's like, I mean, I remember, you know, when I was in college and even after, you know, having, you know, parties that I'd go to and, you know, be drinking all night long, even into the wee hours of the morning or whatever, and, you know, finally go to bed and wake up the next day and you just feel like you really just, it's like you took a tumble down a mountain and you're just laying at the bottom with no way to get up.
Yeah. My 30th was the worst, I'll tell you. My 30th, I was hungover for days. It was absolutely awful, you know. By the time a friend of mine at the time who was not able to make any of my parties, by the time she took me to lunch that Monday, I felt so much better, you know, and she even engaged me in some exhibitionism while she was driving. It was so awesome.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Lunch and a show.
Yeah, it's one of those birthdays that you never forget.
All right. Hey, those are always good.
Yeah. I have a joke that I wrote recently that I've been trying out on people that I'm close with. How do you finger a virgin?
Well, you're going to have to give me the answer.
Very gently.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
very gently.
Yeah. Yeah, that's autobiographical. Hey, I've told that story 100 times before, but I'll tell it to you unrecorded sometime.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a epic story. But Rachel, I want to thank you for coming back on and this time interviewing me. You did a beautiful job, and you even,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, you even added some, like, showman skills to it just by, adding extra stuff. I mean, you could have your own podcast. I feel that you did a good job.
Well, I appreciate that compliment. I don't think I'll be podcasting anytime soon.
Yeah, except with me.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, hey, you never know what the future holds. Maybe somebody will be like, "Hey, let's do this," and I'll be like, "That's a great idea," and I'll just jump headfirst in. But I don't have any ideas for a podcast for myself at this point. So we'll just keep going the path that I'm on and see where it takes me.
Yeah, you did a beautiful job, and yeah, those questions were awesome, and I mean the round of Marry Fuck Kill, it was kind of difficult, but it was fun. I had a great time. It was like a slumber party game. It's kind of like my Secret Silly game in a way.
Well, and that's kind of where I was at when you asked me. I'm like, all right, how do I make this, up Tommy's alley, but still interesting? And, I mean, I really don't know. It's not like we're best friends and we talk every day on the phone. So I don't know a ton about you. So I wanted to kind of just, ask some normal questions and, some in-depth ones that really, gave me a good insight into who you are. And then I was like, great. We got to kind of get a little bit pushing the edge. How do we do that? And I was like, all right, the would you rathers are a good way to go. And, I was Googling all kinds of questions. And I was like, well, some of them are really just kind of boring, And then others I was like, all right, that's a good one. I was like, that will get a good reaction from him. He'll like that question. And then I was like, all right, what else can I do? I was like, oh, perfect, Marry Fuck Kill.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love that game?
Yeah, no, it was great. So I'll talk to you soon. Be safe out there, and Happy New Year.
You as well, Tommy. Happy New Year. We'll talk soon, all right?
Okay, talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Rachel Klahr interviewing me. That was fun, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, I stammered a little bit because, it's still early in the morning. It's noon now, but it was still early in the morning and my coffee hadn't kicked in yet. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. And Rachel asked great questions and she brought personality to it. I think she should start a podcast. I think everybody should start a podcast, just as long as you don't frickin' spew hate and misinformation, you should start a podcast. I think it's the best medium in the world, and we're at a time now where we need a lot more podcasts. So start a podcast, everybody. That's the message of this episode. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes. Happy New Year.